What's up, everybody? This is Whisky in the Six. I'm Rob. Today I have another Patreon voted review. This is the Black Art 6.1. This is 26 years old. There's only 18,000 bottles of this whiskey ever made. Obviously, this is the 6th edition. The 1, 2, 3 are long gone. You can still find the 4 and 5 around if you look hard. The 6 is quite readily available. I have my no-nonsense whiskey from my boy in the UK, Vin, covering my glass tonight. As usual, they come in this black tin. They don't disclose very much about the whiskey. We're able to decipher what's inside based on flavor, based on aroma, those types of things, but nothing more. They're not going to tell us what kind of barrels it's been aged in. That's left up to us. All we do know is that there's no peat in these whiskeys. I'm going to nose this, taste this, and give it a mark. Alright, so my guess for this one is that there's quite a bit of sherry cask influence, but also quite a bit of bourbon cask influence. It's 46.9%, so it's not a low ABV, but it's not a super high ABV. It's actually a really nice zone for a 26-year-old. This is probably in the lower half of the bottle now, maybe even close to 1/4 filled. I shared quite a bit of this whiskey. I purchased 2 at the time, then I let one of my buddies take the second bottle. I wasn't thrilled with it when it first was opened, but it's growing on me for sure. So you get the vanillas from a sherry cask influence, but you also get the red fruits from a sherry cask influence as well. There's something floral in here as well, maybe like a lavender type smell. Not quite soapy, so don't make that distinction. A lot of people mistake lavender with soap. I'm not getting any soapy notes, but just a little bit of a floral note here. There's a decent oak bite, but again, despite the color, which is natural, it's also unchill filtered. Despite the color, I feel like there's a lot of bourbon cask involved in here. Really nice though. It's got the spice of what could only be from a sherry cask. On the palate, lots of oak, vanilla, chocolate, and espresso on the back end. It's got a nice caramel type sweetness, burnt toffee type sweetness. The viscosity is great. It's mouth-filling, syrupy almost, and a nice orange zesty bite on the back end. So, if someone passed this glass to me, said, tell me how old it is, I probably would mistake it for around 18 years old. I'm not 100% sold on the fact that this is 26 years old. Obviously it is. They're not going to lie. It's written on the bottle. It has to be. But it doesn't drink like a 26-year-old. Drinks a little bit younger. That's not necessarily a knock on it. It's very good whiskey. It's just not my favorite Black Art. My favorite being the 4.1 so far. The 5.1 is not as good as this one. So for me, the ones that I've tried, it's 4.1, 6.1, then 5.1. A lot of people say that they line up all three and have a very difficult time judging differences between any of them. I guess the only way to know for sure is to do that. But for me, the 4 and the 6 were more sherry influenced, whereas the 5 I think had a little bit of a different wine cask influence in there. Nice stuff. Overall, is it something that I would rebuy? Probably not. It's around $300 Canadian, depending on where you're buying it. Obviously, you can get it for much more in other places. You can get it for a little bit less in the UK if you found it right off the shelf. Probably, knowing the way Bruichladdich works in the UK, these tend to increase in value very rapidly, sell out really quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised if the secondary on this is already starting to climb, but is it worth $300+? I've had a lot better for that price range. This is great whiskey though. I'm not trying to knock it. I'm going to say that this is probably an 87 for me. So that's an A. One more sip. Yeah, good stuff. Is it incredible? No. Maybe the bitterness on the back end is a little too much for me. I think that's coming from the oakiness of being 26 years old. Again, that's just my opinion. Some people are going to absolutely adore this. They really look for that oaky, bitter note on the back end of a whiskey. I think it's great whiskey, but for the price and overall quality, it's got to be in the mid A range for me, which is between 85 and 89. So like I said, that's an A. It's an 87. Good stuff, just not incredible, and something that I probably won't buy again. If you guys want to say on Whiskey in the Six, if you want to say on what I review next, you guys can join on Patreon. Basically, from now on, I'm going to be allowing my patrons to dictate what's being reviewed out of the whiskeys I currently have. I still will buy in accordance with my palate for the most part, and I will try to venture out as much as I can, which I've done in the last 3.5 years or so. But for the stuff that I currently have and the stuff that I have in the future, I want you guys to have a say. So you can join for $1 a month. I have it by episode, but you can adjust that so that it only comes off once in that month and then it resets the next month. So totally up to you guys, but that's the way you guys can get in on having a say as to what I review on this channel. Hope you liked the video. If you did, click the thumbs up. If you really liked the video, hit subscribe if you haven't already. You guys can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and you guys can also check me out, as I said, on Patreon. Cheers.